The Rachel Zegler controversy surrounding Disney's Snow White remake has become one of the most fascinating case studies in modern Hollywood history. What started as another live-action Disney adaptation has transformed into a cultural flashpoint that reveals deeper tensions in entertainment, social media, and audience expectations. Today, I want to explore why Rachel Zegler became the internet's main character and what this tells us about the evolving relationship between studios, stars, and audiences. When Disney announced Rachel Zegler as their new Snow White in 2021, it seemed like a logical choice. She had just impressed critics in Spielberg's West Side Story, bringing a powerful voice and presence to the role of Maria. Disney likely saw her as the perfect combination of singing talent and fresh star power for their latest remake. But what should have been a dream role quickly spiraled into a PR nightmare that continues to haunt both Ziegler and Disney. The trouble began with a series of interviews where Ziegler discussed her modern interpretation of Snow White. In one particularly viral clip, she stated, "The original cartoon came out in 1937, and it's extremely dated when it comes to ideas of women being in roles of power and what a woman is fit for in the world." She added that her version wouldn't focus on a love story or being saved by the prince, explaining that Snow White would instead become a leader who dreams about being the leader she knows she can be. These comments ignited immediate backlash. Many fans felt Ziegler was dismissing or even insulting the beloved original, which holds significant cultural and historical importance as Disney's first feature-length animated film. The criticism intensified when Ziegler referred to the prince as a stalker in another interview, while her co-star Gal Gadot laughed alongside her. For many viewers, these comments crossed a line from modernizing a classic to seemingly disrespecting it. What's particularly interesting is how this controversy reveals the changing dynamics between stars and their projects. In previous eras, actors typically promoted films with unwavering enthusiasm, regardless of their personal opinions. The studio publicity machine carefully controlled messaging. Today, stars are expected to be authentic and have personal platforms through social media, but this creates new risks when their authentic opinions clash with fan expectations. The backlash against Zegler wasn't just about her comments, though. It became a perfect storm when combined with broader cultural tensions. Some viewed her statements through the lens of woke politics infiltrating beloved classics. Others saw the criticism as unfair targeting of a young Latina actress in a traditionally white role. The controversy quickly transcended the specific comments and became symbolic of larger cultural divides. Disney's handling of the situation only made matters worse. Rather than addressing the growing backlash directly, the studio remained largely silent as Ziegler faced increasing hostility online. When the first trailer was released in October 2023, showing significant changes to the story, it accumulated over 2.5 million dislikes on YouTube, an extraordinary number that signaled serious trouble ahead. The situation deteriorated further when Ziegler appeared to respond to critics on social media with posts that some interpreted as dismissive or confrontational. Whether fair or not, this created a perception that she was antagonistic toward the very audience Disney needed to win over. By March 2024, reports emerged that Disney had significantly reduced Ziegler's involvement in promotional activities, with Gal Gadot taking a more prominent role in marketing. What makes this case so fascinating is how it demonstrates the power shift in entertainment. In the pre-internet era, studios controlled the narrative around their films with iron fists. Today, a single interview clip can go viral, creating a narrative that even Disney's massive PR machine struggles to counter. The controversy also reveals how audience expectations have changed. Fans now demand that actors show reverence for beloved properties, especially when remaking classics. The financial implications are potentially enormous. Disney reportedly spent around $200 to $250 million producing Snow White, with tens of millions more in marketing. Industry analysts suggest the film needs to earn approximately $500 to $600 million globally just to break even. With the negative sentiment surrounding the project, reaching that threshold seems increasingly unlikely. Some industry insiders have drawn parallels to other recent Disney disappointments like The Marvels and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, suggesting the studio is facing a broader crisis in connecting with audiences. Others point to successful remakes like The Lion King and Beauty and the Beast, arguing that execution rather than concept is the issue. What's particularly unfortunate is how this controversy has affected Ziegler personally. At just 23 years old, she's faced an unprecedented level of online criticism that would be difficult for anyone to navigate, let alone someone early in their career. Some defenders argue she's been unfairly scapegoated for decisions made by Disney executives and screenwriters who actually determined the film's direction. The situation raises important questions about how studios should approach remakes of beloved classics. Is it possible to modernize these stories while respecting what made them special in the first place? How much creative freedom should be given to reinterpret iconic characters before it alienates the existing fan base? And how should studios prepare young actors for the intense scrutiny that comes with these high-profile roles? Disney's approach to Snow White represents a particular philosophy of remaking, one that seeks to address perceived problematic elements in the original while maintaining the basic framework. But this approach inherently creates tension. The very fans most excited about a Snow White remake are often those most attached to the original version. When the new interpretation seems to criticize rather than celebrate what came before, it creates an almost impossible marketing challenge. The controversy also highlights how social media has transformed the relationship between stars and audiences. In previous eras, actors were distant figures glimpsed only through carefully managed public appearances. Today, stars are expected to be accessible and authentic, but this creates new vulnerabilities when that authenticity clashes with fan expectations or studio messaging. What's clear is that Disney underestimated how protective audiences would be of Snow White's legacy. The 1937 film isn't just another movie, it's a cultural touchstone that pioneered feature animation and holds nostalgic significance for multiple generations. Any perceived disrespect toward that legacy was bound to create backlash, especially in our current polarized cultural environment. As we approach the film's release, Disney faces difficult questions about how to salvage the situation. Some industry analysts suggest the studio should embrace the controversy, positioning the film as a bold reimagining that challenges audiences to see Snow White in a new light. Others argue they should pivot to emphasize the elements that remain faithful to the original, reassuring traditional fans that the core magic remains intact. The Snow White controversy also reveals how the economics of filmmaking have changed. In previous decades, a film's success depended primarily on its theatrical run. Today, these massive productions need to drive streaming subscriptions, merchandise sales, theme park attractions, and more. A controversial film that alienates core Disney fans could have ripple effects across the entire business ecosystem. For Rachel Zegler, the situation presents both challenges and opportunities. While the backlash has been intense, many young actors have weathered early controversies to build successful careers. How she navigates this moment, whether by addressing critics directly, letting her performance speak for itself, or finding a middle path, will likely influence her trajectory in Hollywood. What's perhaps most interesting is how this controversy reflects broader tensions in our culture. The debate over Snow White isn't really just about a Disney princess, it's about how we relate to our cultural past, how we navigate changing social values, and who gets to determine when and how beloved stories evolve. As audiences, we're increasingly caught between nostalgia for the familiar and demands for more inclusive, progressive storytelling. Studios like Disney are attempting to satisfy both impulses simultaneously, often resulting in creative compromises that fully satisfy neither traditionalists nor those seeking genuine reinvention. The Rachel Zegler Snow White controversy will likely be studied in film schools and marketing classes for years to come as a case study in how not to manage a high-profile remake. Whether the film ultimately succeeds or fails at the box office, it has already demonstrated the complex challenges of reimagining beloved classics in our hyper-connected, polarized era. What do you think? Is the backlash against Ziegler fair, or has she been unfairly targeted for decisions beyond her control? Can Disney still salvage Snow White, or has the controversy permanently damaged its prospects? And what lessons should studios learn about approaching remakes of beloved classics in the future? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.